Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we continue our journey through Annu Pandey's powerful second book, Keeping Faith Alive, as we dive into chapter 3, The Role of Family Dysfunction and Spiritual Abuse. In this episode, we explore a critical question. How does our family environment shape our vulnerability to spiritual abuse? We'll be looking at the differences between functional and dysfunctional families and how early patterns of fear, control, silence, or the need for approval can deeply influence the way we relate to authority and belief systems later in life. We'll also uncover the striking similarities between dysfunctional households and toxic spiritual communities and why so many people unknowingly carry these patterns from one environment into another. This is a deep and eye-opening conversation about awareness, healing, and breaking cycles. Let's begin. How are you, Anu?
I'm good, Siddharth. How are you? Thanks for this next episode. I was really
You're
looking
most
forward to it.
likewise. I'm just trying to open up my questions.
So
I don't know what happened to my mouse,
it's okay, take your
so
time.
let me. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let me just quickly. Okay, yeah, it does. How would you define a functional family versus a dysfunctional family, especially in the context of emotional and spiritual well-being?
Um, when we talk about family dysfunctionality can be seen as a continuum, and family dysfunctionality is also like non-binary. Every family has dysfunctionality to some extent because see, we are all are imperfect humans. But when we use the word technically use the word healthy family, functional family, or dysfunctional family, we are basically referring to families on the two ends of the continuum. So the basic difference between functional family and a dysfunctional family lies on the few bases like emotional safety, healthy
Mhm.
boundaries, stability, and spiritual well-being. And we are considering this spiritual context also because we are talking these things in the terms of spiritual context also. So in a functional family, there is emotional safety. People, all the members in a family, parents, sibling, everyone feels safe in relationship with each other while living in that particular home. They feel emotionally safe and also physically safe. Uh, and it is achieved because functional families have open communication. They have open communication. They are allowed to talk about whatever they want to talk to. Their feelings are validated. They are not gaslighted. If you are feeling something, you're sad, you're angry, you're allowed to express that in a healthy way. And
Mm.
if there is a conflict between two or more members, they know how to resolve it in a healthy way. And they are also allowed to talk about it and get it resolved in the healthier possible ways. And so in so if you have these things in any environment, whether you are at home, in your office, if you're allowed to speak up, if you're allowed to feel, and if you have a problem with someone, you are allowed to go and discuss with them, and you both know how to resolve that in a healthy way. This is a healthy emotional dynamics, and it makes you and the other person feel emotionally healthy. So the first thing that functional families have is the emotional, there is emotional safety in the relationship and in that environment. Second thing is that there are clear boundaries. This is very important. Any relationship, if it's healthy, there will be boundaries. When a relationship is not healthy, boundaries will not be there, and if they are there, they are not very clear. So in functional families, there is respect for autonomy and parents model responsibility. When I say respect for autonomy, although in any family or in any kind of setup, whoever the elder is or holding the authority position, like in family, parents have the authority position. So they, of course, guide children, and sometimes they need to tell them what to do. And kids are also given a little bit of freedom that they can use to take their own decisions. Not all of them, because they are still growing, their brain is has still not grown fully. So
Mm.
parents do make decisions on behalf of them, but you are allowed to be yourself.
Mm.
You're allowed to learn, grow, expand yourself in functional families. If a child, suppose I'm taking my son to buy a t-shirt, and I want him to uh, instead of forcing him to buy something that he completely dislikes, I would give him a choice to choose from five t-shirts that I like. Now, these are the five t-shirts that I like. You can choose any of them, and he would happily choose one of these. So, children are given choices. Children are
mm,
allowed to say no emotionally. So, there are boundaries. This is where I end, and this is where you start. This is where my life ends and yours starts. Children are not seen as extension of parents. Children are seen as individuals who have their own life, their own likes, dislikes, wishes, fears, desires, dreams, goals, and they are supported by the parents. So there are healthy boundaries. Then stability is there. There is no parentification and there is no scapegoat or golden child dynamics that I will explain in the next part of this answer. There there is a stability in the family. Parents behave like parents, children behave like children, children are protected and provided by parents. Things are how they are supposed to be. And if we talk in the spiritual context, the spirituality is used uh, for growing. Faith is used for growth, and there are no faith-based teachings at home. Faith is not used to manipulate, exploit children, to control them, to divide them, or to make them obey the parents blindly. Faith is used by the parents, and if children are preached by parents or guided into spiritual life, it is done with the intention to improve the children's life so that they would grow spiritually, they will have a better life. It's not used as a tool to harm children in any way. So emotional safety is there, clear boundaries are there, there is stability, and the roles that members play in the house, and the spirituality is used for well-being and for growth. Now, if we talk about dysfunctional families, the families that lie on the opposite end of the continuum, these are the families that have everything opposite. Dysfunctionality in a family could be there for various reasons. It's mostly because one or more parents are toxic or they have narcissistic tendencies. One of them is too sick or alcoholic, or they are themselves going through something very painful, so they are do not have the emotional and psychological energy left to properly raise children or to play the role of a parent in a healthy way. So there can be various reasons for which homes become dysfunctional, families become dysfunctional, and it's mostly a parent lacking the capability to act as a parent. And the reason could be anything. Let's say if the
mm,
parent is narcissistic, one or more of the parents are narcissistic, so they lack empathy, they feel entitled, they have low self-worth and insecurity. So because of all these problems that they have, they will project that onto their partner, their children, and they would make everyone live a life that suits them, their emotional needs. So the four factors that we talked about functional families, if we bring them here in the context of dysfunctional family, let's talk about emotional safety. There will be emotional chaos or emotional suppression. Feelings are dismissed. You are not allowed to feel, and even if you're feeling, you're not allowed to express them, because if you're expressed in a dysfunctional family that you're feeling, it will be seen as a burden by the parents who are not emotionally available, whether they intend to or not. We're not talking about intention right now. Maybe they want to but they just cannot for any reasons. But you are not allowed to express your emotions because it's seen as burden, or it scares your own parents. If your parents, if some in a house a parents don't have their own childhood traumas resolved, if they see their child's problem, it would trigger something from their own memory, and so they would try to shut the child down. So the first thing is that there will be emotional chaos and emotional suppression. You're not allowed to express what you're feeling. Anger, shame, and guilt are used as tools in these families to control, to make everyone live in a certain way. So, because of that, there is a lot of chaos. Suppression is there because you're not allowed to express, and chaos is there because generally the one or both of the parents, they use guilt, shame, and anger as a tool to control children. Then boundaries. If we talk about boundaries, that's the biggest red flag in any family. If a family members lack boundaries, they don't understand their own boundaries and boundaries of the other family member, that's the biggest red flag. In dysfunctional families, people's boundaries are enmeshed. People are enmeshed with each other. Like in some Indian family, you would see that even if the child becomes adult, son becomes adult, parents still expect the son to behave like a 5-year-old child to them, even though the child is son is now married, he has his own wife, their own children. Now he is the adult of the he is the authority figure of his own home. He and his wife are authority figure of his own home. They have the right to decide how to parent their children, how to celebrate their festivals, their special occasions, how to live, what kind of lifestyle to adopt. But some parents control their adult children, even if the child is 5 years old, child who doesn't have a fully functional brain, who cannot decide for themselves. So there is a lot of this is called as enmeshment, when adult children are still living their lives as per their parents wishes, and they are the ones controlling everything: how you would celebrate your anniversary, how you would parent your children, or what kind of clothes you would wear, your wife would wear, and how your children are going to spend their summers, summer vacations, how their birthdays will be celebrated. They are taking all the decision. It's not love. Somewhere there is
Mm,
dysfunction, because in healthy families, even if there is love between two members, siblings, parent child, husband wife, even if there is love, still we allow the other person to take their own decisions, to be autonomous. If someone has become
mm,
adult now, they're allowed to be autonomous. In dysfunctional families, autonomy is always suppressed. So there is a lot of enmeshment. And also, there is a lot of control instead of guidance. When
mm,
I am guiding someone, I would give them the information and I would let them decide how they will use this information to make a decision now. When I'm controlling someone, I might give a decision, but I will force them to follow that. And if they don't follow it, I might get angry, upset, I might cry, I might emotionally blackmail them. So these things happen in so this is how lack of boundaries are there, especially between parents and children, and also sometimes between two spouses. Then the roles there are rigid and unfair roles. Now I will tell you about the scapegoating and the golden child dynamics. In a normal healthy family, all children are given equal rights and they are treated equally. They are shown equal amount of love, support, encouragement, and resources are parents try their best to divide the resources equally among the children. However, in dysfunctional families, at least there will be one child who will be scapegoated. So when I say scapegoated, it means that they will be held responsible for all the family problems. If I have let's say I have my eldest son who is scapegoat, I have scapegoated him. If I have a fight with someone, if there is a financial loss in family, if one of my child is suffering, going through something, if one of my child's marriage is not going well, anything wrong here, somehow I will find something and pin that on my scapegoat child, and the rest of the family will conform with me. That's how the dynamics works in dysfunctional families. And unfortunately, everyone conforms with that toxic parent who designates these roles. It's a very common dynamics in which one or two parents are narcissistic. If at least one parent is narcissistic in a family, there will definitely
mm,
be a scapegoat child who would be held responsible for anything that goes wrong in the life of any of the family members. Now, again, such families also have a scapegoat child. On the outside, it might look like scapegoat child is the most favored one, most favorite child, most loved, but actually, a narcissistic parent, a toxic parent who is capable of scapegoating one of their child is not truly capable of loving their another child. But they make it look like, so that they have an ally, they have a lawyer, an advocate who is always ready to fight for them, because they see a different version of a parent. They see a parent who is always loving, caring, supporting the golden child. On the other hand, a scapegoat child sees something else. If there are more children, they could be in different roles also. They see a different version. They were not as abused as the scapegoat was, but they're also not as loved as the golden child was. So all children have different version of the same parent. So this one child, golden child, is always standing by the parent and supporting them. No, whatever this parent sees or says or feels or thinks or decide is right, they will always be there to support the parent. So it's basically a divide and rule policy that lets the toxic parents designate such roles. So these are very unfair roles. No child deserves to become the scapegoat. Also, on the outside, it might look like the golden child is a privileged child, but they also have a they are also being abused in a different way. They are manipulated. They can never be themselves. They are also not, because they think, they know that if I try to be myself, I might end up in that position where my brother is right now, the scapegoated child. I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to lose the privilege that I have. So for that, they lose their autonomy completely. They close their eyes, they shut their brain down, and they see from their toxic parents' eyes. They talk from their toxic parents' tongue, from their mouth, and they do whatever pleases them because they don't want to leave that role that they have been designated, and it really messes their own life. They too lack. Most of the people think that golden child are confident. They might look confident on the outside when they are around the parent, but otherwise they also lack a lot of things, because it messes their autonomy big time. And when we come to the talk about the family dysfunctionality or functionality in the spiritual context, then spirituality is distorted in such families. Religion is used for control, and obedience is favored over compassion. I will want my child to obey me all the time. I will not care about how my child is feeling while obeying me in a certain context about something. So I would keep aside the compassion and I would focus more on obedience. Obedience is most important, because mostly toxic people are toxic because they lack self-worth. They are very insecure on the inside. So to feel secure, I want everyone to obey me around me, my children, my spouse too. If they are all obeying me, I'll be okay, and I don't need to have the actual compassion that is required to be a good parent, to be a good spouse for my children and for my spouse. So that's how the emotional safety, boundaries, stability, role resignation, and how spirituality is seen and used in these dynamics differentiates if a family is functional or dysfunctional.
Awesome. All right. I have a comment here already from Jitin Rishika. Dear Anu, parents play a role model in a family. If the head of the family is dysfunctional, then there would be grievances. Children are a reflection of their parents.
Yes, that's very much true, and that's very unfortunate also. Adult children, when they realize that something was wrong in my family, they can get help that is there in the form of books, in the form of they can go to counseling, they can go to therapy, and gradually they can become their own selves rather than it's true. We parent the way we are parented, and we learn a lot of things from our parents either by observing them or by carrying the beliefs that they wanted us to carry to suit their lives at that time, but we are still carrying that beliefs as an adult even though they are not around, and we are still living our life the way they wanted to live us when we were with them. So it's true, but the generational, this is called as transfer of generational trauma, and the generational trauma pattern can be broken by therapy, self-help books, and do, involving yourself in the healing processes. It's possible to break those patterns, break free from them, and become your true self. It takes a lot of time, lots of consistency and hard work, but the patterns can be broken, and you can be yourself, not just their reflection.
Lovely. What are some subtle signs that a family may be dysfunctional, even if everything appears normal on the surface?
Okay, if someone is watching this and wondering if what if my family is dysfunctional, so here are the 5 signs to look out for. If you think you are always walking on eggshells, if if you are someone who is always walking on eggshells around everyone, then there has to be some issues with you. But if you think you are, when you are around your parents, one or both of your parents, or one or more of your siblings, especially when you are with your family, you feel like you are always afraid if you would upset someone, if someone would be upset, angry with you, like you are scanning the environment, you are always scanning their moods, um, And whenever you sense any change in mood of any of your family members, especially your parents, you become scared. What if they are upset at me? What if I said something yesterday or this morning that made them upset? So if you are constantly, if you are in hyper vigilance, that's the technical word we use, which means that you are constantly scanning the environment to see if there is any danger. And you, when you are around them, you are walking on eggshells. You cannot be yourself. You cannot just say what you want to say or be what you want to be or feel what you want to feel. You have to be a certain way. You have to be like presentable, say only those things that
Mm,
keep them comfortable, dress up in a certain way, talk and walk and sleep and eat, and even like and dislike. Like in dysfunctional families, if a parent hates someone, you have to hate them or you will be hated by your parents. If they
mm,
like someone who is unworthy of being liked, actually you don't like them, but you have to pretend to get along with them.
mm,
So this is called as walking on eggshells. Always being very careful of your parents' mood and constantly scanning the environment, looking at their face. And if they're even a little bit of upset, you get scared. What if it's because of something that I said? You get worried. This is the first red flag. Second one is family is more focused on image instead of actually working on the issues that are between the family members, the problems that they have, any mental health issues, any behavioral problems, any communication issues, members that they have inside the family. Instead of focusing on them, they are more concerned about how we look on the outside. When the photos are taken, everybody has to be there, that it has to be on Facebook. If I'm posting a photo on social media, all my siblings have to like it, or what other people would say, her own sister didn't like her photo. So reputation is more important than well-being. It doesn't matter why I did not put a heart on your photo. It doesn't matter what I was going through. You're not concerned about that. If I didn't call you for a week, in a dysfunctional family, if a sibling doesn't call someone in the family, parents or the other siblings, nobody is concerned why they are not calling. They would get angry why you're not calling, because it looks bad on the outside. People are watching, and when siblings get married, their spouses are watching, children are watching. And if it's a joint extended family, that it gets worse, because everybody is watching how their family is doing, how their family is doing. So problems remain hidden because everybody is focused on maintaining the outer image, and nobody is actually concerned. And to be honest, Siddharth, most of the family members in dysfunctional families, they don't even know what the actual problem is. They don't even know they are being abused, they are being toxic, they are abusive, or they don't know, because they think this is love. Because uh, we learn the concept of love from family, and if your family being dysfunctional from day one, how would you know what actual love feels like? So image focused, if your family is very much focused on image, and like I give this example before, some old parents would force their son to celebrate their anniversary with them, so that relatives would say, wow, such an obedient son. He is so obedient that he didn't, literally happens so many times in Indian families. Sons are always appreciated if they leave behind their wife and children and spend time with their parents. They could have taken that time when the child was young, but no, they waited till he gets married. And now we have to show to the society. So, image focused family. A third sign is emotional inconsistency. Love is used with conditions. You cannot get unconditional love. You have to be a certain way. The moment they would draw a line for you, toxic parents, you have to walk on that line. The moment you try to move away from that line, the love switch gets switched off. If you want that love switch to be switched on back, you have to again conform with them, their ideologies, their ideas, their thinking, everything. And there is also a lot of hot and cold treatment. If there is one big problem in dysfunctional families, people don't discuss problems with each other. Instead, if I have a problem with the, let's say, one of my siblings, instead of going in directly telling her and getting the things resolved peacefully, I would go to my third sibling. I will tell them, I will gossip with them, and maybe I'll add something that would make them angry too, and then they would be angry too with my sibling, with my sister. And my sister would be wondering, what did I do to my brother? I didn't even said anything to him. Why is he angry? So these
Mm.
kind of hot and cold. Yesterday he was talking nice to me, and suddenly he is angry at me. What's wrong? What have I done? I She does not know that I pitted him against her. So these type of things happen. So suddenly there is a hot treatment, and suddenly there is a cold treatment, and you don't know what's going on. And there is fourth sign is there is overemphasis on obedience.
Mm.
You have to obey your parents. Nothing is more important than in a toxic family. You have to make them feel superior all the time. Your needs don't matter. And it could happen in a husband wife relationship also. Mostly it's the husband who dominates, but in rare cases wife could be dominating as well. You have to do everything her way. If you're not, she will get upset. So and in spiritual context, and also using tradition, using culture. Sometimes children are told that good children don't question, good children don't dissent, good children just close their eyes and follow what is being said to me. So there is overemphasis on obedience. And then fifth one is lack of communication, that I already said. They do,
Mm.
people in dysfunctional family don't communicate in a healthy way. Either they keep suppressing and giving hot and cold treatment, or they would just lash out one day because they don't know what's the healthy way to say. If you keep suppressing something, of course it will build up one day and you will lash out themselves. And if nothing is going on, members are neither happy nor angry nor sad. And if they are just casually socializing with each other, then also they never communicate in a productive way. Then they might find a third person and they would gossip about them, a relative, a celebrity, a political leader, something, because they know that if we talk about a third person who is completely unrelated to us, it will not lead to any conflict. Because as I said, people walk on eggshells in such families. They are always hyper vigilant, afraid of offending each other, although they keep offending each other, but they're also very afraid. So there is never any healthy and normal and productive communication between dysfunctional families. Whenever you meet them, you would want to talk about the third person, because that's the only thing that makes you feel safe, because you know it will not create any controversy in the family. So these are the five signs to look out for. If your family shows these five signs, your family or any relationship or any friendship, you might need to look deeper into the problem. Maybe this is a dysfunctional relationship, dysfunctional family.
How does growing up in a dysfunctional family make someone more vulnerable to spiritual abuse later in life?
The dysfunctional family, the relationship dynamics in a dysfunctional family are very similar to the relationship dynamics in a cultic environment,
Okay.
spiritual or non-religious cults. The dynamics are very same. So children who come from dysfunctional families, when they enter a toxic cultic environment, they don't see any difference.
Mm.
Everything seems very familiar. And we humans have the tendency to go towards what feels familiar. Domestic abuse survivors, they keep running back to their abuser. They try to leave them, then go back, try to leave them,
Mm.
then it takes at least 7 attempts to finally leave the abuser. Why? Because of this human tendency of wanting to run towards what's familiar, even if it's danger.
Mm.
Children always run towards their parents, even if the parents are harming them, they are dangerous. I have met so many people as my clients, as my followers on social media, who clearly told me the kind of severe abuse they are going through in the hands of their partner or their parents, but they keep saying that, but I can't live without them because I love them. That's not love,
Mm.
that's trauma bonding. But that's the only
Yeah.
familiar thing they know, they have known for years. So they are afraid, if I leave this, beyond this, what would be something that's unfamiliar, that could be dangerous. So they keep, and that's not a conscious feeling, that's a subconscious feeling, running towards something what is familiar. Control is there was there in my dysfunctional family, and control is there in my cult. So control was there, control was here, so it will feel normal to me. Intensity is mistaken as safety. So when my parent is happy with me, I did something that made them happy. So now they're happy with me. And suddenly I have a rush of dopamine. And that intensity, I am taking it as love and safety, although it's just intensity. It's just uh, a neurochemicals that is making me feel safe, because suddenly someone who was always toxic showed me love. Same thing happens in cultic environments. There is a lot of intensity in the beginning that I will discuss later. There is a lot of intensity of love in the beginning, and sometimes even if there is a hot and cold treatment in cultic environment, also whenever someone who is in that environment, they have come from a dysfunctional family, they keep waiting for that one nice moment, and when that one nice moment comes, they feel a large intensity of love, and they mistake it as safety. Since there is intensity, I am feeling the intensity of love for my parent, for my leader, for my preacher, it means I am safe. So familiarity, there is a lot of familiarity with control. Then abusive authority feels normal. Harsh tone feels familiar. It was there at my home also, and my parents told me that um, uh, I'm scolding you because I love you. I beat you because I love you, because I cared for you. So children, adult children from dysfunctional families associate violence or abuse or harsh tone with love. It's because they love me. It's because they care for me. And this might not be conscious for everyone. Could be subconscious, but it's there. And obedience is seen as survival. When someone was a little child, they didn't had any other option other than staying with the abusive parent. They provided you food, clothes, shelter, and they protected you from the dangers that were outside your house. So, whatever safety you had at that time, it was your parents. So now, and to get that safety, what you were supposed to do, you were supposed to obey them. Be allow them to treat you whatever way they wanted to, and you just keep obeying them. So you learn early in your life that obeying is equal to being safe. Now you bring the same belief here in the cultic environment. You know, and there also you are being, since the love is conditional, so you know that if you obey, you will be safe. Then poor boundaries. Poor boundaries are there in dysfunctional families, and in any sort of toxic environment, whether it's an intimate relationship, friendship, corporate environment, or spiritual environment. If the environment is toxic, the biggest red flag is always lack of boundaries. Boundaries are always poor, because if everybody has their boundaries, how would you exploit them? So first thing is to break their boundaries, to weaken their boundaries. So followers overgive. There are difficulties spotting violations, because you are supposed to overgive, you are supposed to forgive, so there are no boundaries. Then difficulty saying no. People, adult children coming from dysfunctional families, they already have difficulty saying no. They think that saying no is wrong, because they were never allowed to say no safely. And so now when they come here in the toxic environment, they fear any sort of conflict, and no feels dangerous. So this is how they are vulnerable, because it's like they were primed in their own families so that they can become a very good victim in future toxic relationship, in toxic environments. There is a lot of, also if you in your family, a lot of guilt and shame and fear was used to control you, it gets internalized over the time. So you are very conditioned to guilt and fear. Now you're walking, you used to walk on eggshells at your home, now you're walking on eggshells here. You take blame quickly. If someone has a strong self-worth, someone has strong sense of self-love, they will not take blame very easily. When somebody blames them, they will question them, they will question themselves, their own thoughts and feelings. But if you were constantly blamed, guilt tripped, shamed throughout your childhood, your teenage, and when you were young adult, now in any new relationship, if somebody tries to guilt trip you, tries to blame you, you would easily take that. And in spiritual context, see, in dysfunctional families, moral languages used, because I am your father, because I am your mother, I did this for you. So moral language was used to make you obey, irrespective of anything. So now any moral language that is being used in spiritual environment, then in your cult, it will trigger your old wounds. So it becomes easy for anyone to manipulate you using the words like sin, karma, duty, Earlier it was duty towards parents, now it's duty towards God. So using lots of words, because these people coming from dysfunctional families, they already have a chronic self blame. Whenever they felt sad, hurt, they were told that it's your fault, it's your fault. So they have internalized that. Now in this new environment again, and the perpetrators always know, okay, so this is the person who is easy to manipulate, someone who is shy, lacks confidence, is body language. With the body language they show that I come from an environment where I was not protected. The perpetrators can easily identify that body language, and they know that this is the right person, and it becomes easy for them. And also, if someone spent their entire life in a home which did not feel safe on the inside, they were also searching for some sort of safety. And all kind of spiritual communities, even the healthy ones, they offer you safety. They say that if you come and join us, we will provide you an environment where you will be safe, you will be accepted, you will be loved, and there will be spiritual safety. And if you live a certain lifestyle, it will be better, it will improve everything for you. So they are already searching for safety in their lives. And when they come to the any sort of cultic environment or even a healthy environment, they see that structure is being provided, and leaders are there, strong people are holding leadership position, there are preachers who are wise, who have knowledge, who have a lot of following, and they are powerful. So they think that earlier they thought that my powerful parents would protect me. Now they are thinking that this person is powerful and is kind also, and a lot of people love them, so obviously they would be good. So this person will protect me, I will be safe under their guidance. And so ultimately the group feels like a family replacement. So
Mm.
it's just a replacement with new hopes. You lost hope from that one, even if it's subconscious, but in this one this is new. And in the initial phases, every spiritual community showers a lot of love, so there is a lot of love bombing and you have a lot of hope. So, and also attachment is very fast, because in initial period they show a lot of love, validation, acceptance while they are preaching and recruiting. So there is a very fast attachment. So people continue to stay even when the love bombing cools down. Love becomes conditional, they start to control you, abuse you, but still people stay, because they are still hoping maybe something is wrong with me, because I saw my family as dysfunctional, now I'm seeing this community as dysfunctional, something has to be wrong with me. So many people are confirming. So this maybe, so the hope keeps you attached to them. So this is how the beliefs and the feelings and the ways of seeing things, understanding things, seeing yourself, the worth that one gives to themselves, is what makes them vulnerable to these cultic environments.
True. In what ways do dysfunctional families shape a person's understanding of authority, obedience, and self-worth?
Authority, such people who come from dysfunctional families, they learn to associate authority with fear, because in their home the person who has had the authority, they were always afraid of them because they used fear to control them,
Mm.
instead of actually connecting, actually guiding, using wisdom, taking accountability for the wrong things that they did, and being fair, having an honest relationship. They use fear, because the laziest thing, the easiest thing you can do to control someone, especially a child, is fear. Like a lot of school teachers do that. You can actually mindfully understand a situation and guide a student, or you can just scold them. What's easier? Scolding and beating is always easier, although it
Mm.
always damages the child. But the lazy
Yeah.
people who are not very concerned, or who have their own trauma, sometimes parents who have own severe issues, like someone who's suffering from post traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic disorder, that they are easily startled, they are having a lot of anxiety issues, they also snap at their children easily even though they are well meaning. So dysfunctionality of any kind will have a parent who is dysfunctional, who is not being the way they are supposed to be. So adult children coming from such families, they associate authority with fear, because leaders, and when they come to cultic environments, They see leaders feel powerful. Uh, they are controlling, they are punitive, they are ego driven, they are unpredictable, just like their parents were. So now, even if they are afraid of the leader, of the preacher, they, when they are around them, they feel like walking on eggshells. Still, they will obey them because they think that authority means fear. If I'm afraid of the authority, it's okay, but it's not okay. Then obedience is seen as survival strategy, not a choice. In healthy families, children are given a choice to say no sometimes. They don't have to say yes to everything all the time. But in dysfunctional families, children don't have a choice. They have to say yes to everything. You have to be yes man. And in cultic environments, when these people come, saying they already carrying this belief that saying yes equal to safe. Because when I said no, I was beaten at home. Now they're not consciously thinking about this thing, but they are carrying a subconscious belief that make them react in the same way. So any questioning, any dissent, any uh, trying to outshine the leaders, or having any needs, it makes you afraid. You should not have, you were told that you should not have needs, you should always obey. Do not try to outshine the parents. In um, spiritual communities also, I have observed that if a new follower is more talented and is more respected than a leader who already existed, leader feels that this person is outshining me and they may try to suppress this. Also happens in corporate environments. You might have seen that happening. So self-worth is, and the self-worth is linked to compliance. If you be a good son or a good daughter, you will be loved and you are worthy of our love. So children learn that my self-worth depends upon my compliance. If I am complying, I am a good boy. If I'm not, I am a bad boy. And when you become a follower in a cultic environment, if you are yeah, if you are a yes man, you are worthy of your the love of the leaders, the followers, and even God. God is also misused a lot in such places. So I am good only when I obey. That's the belief that people from dysfunctional families bring. They have a lot of identity confusion. Their identity becomes conditional. The things that were said to their by their parents or any toxic people, it becomes their inner voice later on. So they, people coming from dysfunctional families lose their sense of personal values. They always depend on outer validation. They were not allowed to be themselves, so they are afraid of being themselves. And a lot of people don't even know what being yourself means. They become so disconnected with their own bodies, their own needs, their emotional, physical. They might feel sleepy, but they will not take rest because they are not aware. They get literally technically connected from their body so much. I have seen survivor who do not take rest when they are sleepy, when they want to sleep, because they don't know, they don't realize. They are frustrated, they are anxious, they're lashing out at people around them, but they don't know that they actually need to rest because they were never allowed to be themselves. They were allowed to sleep, wake up, eat, not eat, fast, as per their parents' wish. These people, when they come to any sort of community, they repeat the same pattern.
Wow. Can you explain how patterns like fear, silence, or control within families mirror what we see in toxic spiritual communities?
Yeah, fear. Um, there is a fear that I will be punished, I will be judged, and there will be divine. So these are common in both of them. In
Okay.
spiritual communities, there is an added fear that there will be divine retribution if I displease the leader, if I do not follow a certain ritual, if I do not align with everyone, even if they are doing something that's wrong, that's harmful to the society, to the members, to ourselves, to our family. If we do not align with what everyone is doing, then God will be displeased with me. I will be sinning. There will be some divine retribution upon me. So the fear was there also, and fear is here also. There you were afraid of being punished by your parents, by being judged by them. Now you are afraid of being judged by the leaders, by the fellow followers, and a punishment by there is no not physical punishment in all kinds of toxic communities, but there is an emotional punishment. Someone who was showing you consistent love suddenly withdraws their love because the love is conditional if you're not being the way they want you to be there. And also you have this lingering fear of what if displeasing a leader means displeasing a god. Sometimes it is overtly said that displeasing a leader or displeasing a preacher or sinning against them, and sin could be even think having a question in your mind against them, or having a doubt against one of their actions that you think was inappropriate, and you have a question, and you are told that if you have even have a question, it means you're not a loyal follower. If it means you're not committed enough, you're not serious enough in your spiritual journey, and if you're not pure enough as a follower, and you fear that how it might damage and destroy my spiritual life if having these questions. And then silence. In both the places you were told, do not speak about any wrongdoings. If there is any dysfunction on the inside, we don't talk about it. We have to show loyalty. Loyalty is more important than actually fixing the problem on the inside. And don't ask any questions, don't dissent, do what is said. This is the common thing, common type of silence that is expected in both these environments. Then control. Rules. Control is what is used to rule over the relationships. There is the parents, as I said, they do not use healthy guidance, they don't give healthy guidance, they don't give much of the choices to children. You are supposed to guide and then give choice. You should allow to say no sometimes, but these things don't happen in dysfunctional environments of any kind, whether it's home or a group or a spiritual group. You will be controlled by whoever is the authority figure. And in spiritual context, additionally, God is used. God wants you to do this thing. And sometimes parents also use these things, that scriptures say that one must always obey your parents. Scripture says that wife must submit to their husbands. Could happen in a family environment and could happen in a dysfunctional cultic environment as well.
Why do individuals from dysfunctional family backgrounds often struggle to question or challenge harmful spiritual leaders?
Because of the beliefs that they are carrying since childhood.
Okay.
The kind of life that we live, the what we experience, what we observe around us, the messages that we get from the our primary caregivers, they build our beliefs, subconscious belief, and these subconscious beliefs take control of our every decision in the life, how we see ourselves, how we see others, how we treat others, how we make decisions, how we treat people in relationships, how we let others treat us. Everything is decided on the basis of the beliefs that we are carrying. And being in a dysfunctional family distorts your beliefs. It distorts your belief. It makes your thinking dysfunctional. Like questioning is equal to disrespect. Questioning, when a toxic parent is questioned by a child, parent thinks that they are hurting my ego. How dare you question me? I am the parent. You're just supposed to obey. And it's the
Mm.
same thing that happens in toxic environment. How dare you question? If you are questioning, it means that you don't respect me enough, you don't love me enough, you don't trust me enough. You have to trust me, and any questioning is equal to disrespect. So this is learned in childhood. Then there is a fear of abandonment.
Mm.
Dysfunction in dysfunctional families, love is not consistent. Parents give love conditionally. When you do or say something that makes them feel good to the society, and that makes them appear good as parents, or that makes them feel good emotionally, that favors them in somehow, socially, emotionally, financially. So, and when you don't do things, or when you do things that don't make them feel good or doesn't favors them, they withdraw that love. Love is given and withdrawn. Love is inconsistent. So children develop this belief that love is something that can be taken away. And even some parents directly say that if you don't do so and so, I will abandon you, I will never see you face again. A lot of people tell me, in the sections that my parents literally told me to do this or they will abandon me. A lot of girls stay in domestic abuse houses with domestic violence because they know that if I leave my abusive husband, it will bring bad name to my parents and then they might disown me. So I'm already leaving my husband and now my parents will also disown me. Where would I go? So children who are raised in dysfunctional families, they have a chronic fear of abandonment. So losing the community or losing the family, it's very scary for them. Then internalized helplessness. If someone stays in a situation for a very long time, whether it's with the parents or with the partner, where you are being constantly abused, hurt, you feel sad, you feel scared, but you don't know if there is a way out. So especially in childhood, if someone has a childhood trauma, I will again take the example of domestic violence. I've had a client who is very highly educated. She has her own business. She's doing very well in her life, but she has a very abusive husband. He is a cheater. He is a beater. All kinds of wrong things he does to her, but she cannot leave him. She says that I don't know what will I do if I leave him. So the fear of unknown is so strong, and then there is a term we use learned helplessness. When someone has been in a situation where they were not able to get any help from the outside, when they were not able to break free or make people understand, like if you have been helpless for a very long time, now even if you can break free now, even if you have resources, even if you have a way, still you will continue to stay in that relationship, in that home, in that environment. That is called as learned helpless. Over the time you learn that there is no way out. So now your emotional brain is overtaking your rational brain. You cannot think rationally, you cannot plan an actual exit. And when children are sad, afraid, and they're crying because of the abuse that they're going through because of their parents, they're also told repeatedly that it's your fault. A normal parent, a parent who is well intended, even if they accidentally slap their children or scold them, they would go and say sorry sometimes. Oh, this time it was not your fault, it was my fault. Please forgive me. But toxic parents would always say that it was your fault. They would never take accountability. So these children, they learn that I if something bad happens to me, if someone hurts me, if a relation there is a problem in any relationship, if somebody scolds me, somebody abuses me, I have definitely done something wrong. This is the belief that parents put in the head of these children. So that's why when you all already carrying a belief that if anything wrong happens with me, it will always be my fault, because you have internalized helpless. So it these people become very easy to go along with the toxic environment, and they are afraid of challenging the toxic or harmful spiritual leaders because they already have this belief. This person is already on a pedestal, how can they be wrong? If I have a problem with them, I am lacking faith, or I am sinful, or it's my karma. If I have a problem with a fellow follower, it's my problem, because that's what they learn in their families. Also, they, even if they sometimes realize things are not right, things are toxic, they have strong fear of abandonment. They would stay in the toxic environment instead of breaking free, because they are more afraid of being alone than being in a environment that is damaging them. And also there is always a hope for approval. They try to earn love. Children always try to earn love from their parents, no matter how toxic the parents are. And children raised in such families, they develop this habit of trying to change the toxic person, trying to change the toxic environment instead of being in that environment. People literally beg their abusers in domestic abuse cases. Even in spiritually abusive environments, people have literally begged to their leaders, their preacher, to make them understand what I'm going through, why I'm sad, and what I'm so, because they hope maybe this time they will change. Maybe something will change. Maybe if I try more, I will be able to earn the love.
Okay, how does the need for belonging or approval, often unmet in dysfunctional families, make people more susceptible to manipulation in spiritual groups?
So there are unmet childhood needs. In obviously, when you come from a toxic family, your needs were not met. The need for love, the need for love validation, and the need for safety. So these you still have those needs. And when you enter a spiritual community, whether it's a healthy or a toxic one, whether you've been approached by a healthy functional leader or a dysfunctional one, in the initial phases there is a lot of love bombing. They show you a lot of love, they accept you the way you are, and that's what you always wanted. That's what you'd been waiting all your life, to be accepted the way you were, for what you were, to be loved unconditionally, to be supported. And all kinds of spiritual communities, they not only show a lot of love, validation, they also give actual support. Both of them, the healthy as well as the toxic ones. Support in a sense, if let's say in my someone joins my community and they are jobless and I know there is an opening in my office, I would refer them and even help them get that job. This person will think that, oh, it's some divine miracle because I joined this group, so God is happy with me, that's why I got this job. And so but I help them because I'm trying to build a community where we help each other, we be there for each other, we make each other's lives better, and that's what the community is for. In healthy communities, these things always keep going on. However, in the communities that are toxic or cultic, these things happen only in the initial phase, so that you get recruited, so that you submit, so that you become committed to the community. Now, once you're part of the community, if you continue to conform with everything, continue to say yes man, you might get occasionally help, support, and everything. But the moment you start to question or dissent, or for some any other external reasons, environmental reasons, like health or change in job, for some reason you're physically not a part of the group anymore, suddenly everything disappears. So, but these things happen later on. In initial phases, whether the community is toxic or normal, whether it's manipulative or not, initially all these needs are met. They make sure to meet all these needs. Love, validation, safety, even financial support is provided. Sometimes even people are helped to get a job. Or if someone is having any kind of health issues and there is a doctor in the community, they would give free of health, free of free health advice also. So all kinds of support that is possible in the community, it's given to the members. In toxic community, it's only remains only till you are being yes man, and in healthy community it stays forever. So when someone comes from a family where their needs were never met, and they now find a community where needs are suddenly met, and that too with so much intensity, this, it makes them very susceptible to manipulation. Now they close their eyes, they don't want to use their brains, they don't want to think about anything. I'm so happy with the love and comfort and validation that I'm getting here. I'll do whatever they say. Even if something is wrong, I might do that because I'm feeling so safe with them. I never felt that way. It's human need, just like we have the need, biological needs of taking rest, having food, having a sexual life partner, having romance in our life. Similarly, we have this basic biological need of having relationships. If I never had any healthy relationship in my life and suddenly someone is pretending to have a lot of feelings for me, I will fall for them. I will not use my brain. I would not want to use my brain because it feels so good. Why would I? And then spiritual groups offer these things temporarily. And they also say that we are your real family. So suddenly you feel so better. Now I got another family which is healthier, which actually loves me, which actually supports me. So all this love bombing, we are your family, we are one now, we are all together walking on the same path, and every support that you get, it makes one susceptible because those needs were never met in your own family, but they are being met here now with a lot of intensity. So and the manipulation is subtle. Manipulation is not in the, especially in the initial phases, nobody directly scolds you or abuses you. It's all starts very slowly, very subtly. And also, Once you have spent some time in a community, you develop gratitude for them because the love, the support that you receive, you never did before. So now you have gratitude also. So now even if you see the red flags, you would not want to leave because you have gratitude guilt with you. And also there is a lot of spiritual bypassing in the forms of teaching. It's because of your karma, and you must focus on the positive and these things. So the subtle manipulation, the unmet emotional needs, and how these communities provide you with these needs with high intensity in the initial days. So you get attached and you become susceptible to the manipulation in such communities.
True. What are the key similarities between dysfunctional family systems and toxic or cult-like spiritual environments?
Although there are a lot of them, but we will talk about the six.
Yeah.
Hierarchy. There is a top down hierarchy. There is one authority figure, and then there are different levels. So the lower you are in a hierarchy, you have to submit
Mm.
to the one above you and then above you. So there is a top down hierarchy. Then loyalty is based on fear.
Mm.
Leaving is equated with betrayal. You stay loyal because you're afraid. In
Yeah.
family, you were afraid of your survival. In community, you are afraid because of gratitude guilt. And also, if you leave, you will be seen as someone who was not devotional enough, who was not pure
Mm.
enough, not serious enough, not committed enough, not serious with your spiritual life. Because you've seen these words, these labels put on those people who tried to leave or who tried to question or who tried to dissent. And now you don't want to be in that position. You want to be loved. You want to continue being loved and accepted the way you were since the initial phase, because it feels so good, because you were never like felt like that in your own family. Now the community is giving you, and if it has a cost, you will bear that cost because it feels so good. You want to be continue that way. So leaving is equated to betrayal, so people don't leave. So this is one similarity in dysfunctional families. Also, you don't leave, you don't question. It's seen as betrayal. Then idealization of authorities. Parents are idealized. As I said, some of my clients, they say, I love my father or my mother, even though she's abusing, she's ruining my life, my spouse's, my children's life, but I love them. So I cannot leave them. I cannot distance them. And same is the with the authority in spiritual communities, in cult-like environments. They are idealized because of how they treat you in the initial phases. You create an image. And also in spiritual communities, leaders and preachers are put on a pedestal and everybody worships them like a god. It's also suggested in some of the scriptures that you must treat your preacher and your leaders as god. But then the scriptures have also given the condition that they should follow those conditions. But
Yeah.
in cult like communities, even if they are not following anything, they're just on that holding that position materially, they would still treat it like a god. So there is idealization. And in family, parents knew what was best for me. In cult like communities, it is said that leaders know what's best for you, so don't use your brain. And the love is conditional. Fifth one is that love is conditional. Obey to belong. If you obey, then you will seen as someone who belongs. If you don't, you won't be. And there is a lot of investment, which means lack of boundaries. So there is no personal identity, only group identity. When you were with your dysfunctional family, you were not supposed allowed to be autonomous. Every action that you took, the life kind of life that you lived, you had to keep the identity of the family in the mind. Family's honor was prioritized more than your well-being. Like I gave you the example of a lot of women going through domestic abuse. They don't leave because they fear that it will bring bad name to their families. And when you belong to a cult, there also, if something is wrong or bad is happening in the community, don't hold accountable. Especially the one that is the perpetrator is doing a lot of contribution to the community, they are not held accountable because it will bring a bad name. Bad, it will ruin the image of the community. So these are the six things that are similar in these two environments.
How can someone begin to recognize that both their family environment and spiritual community may be reinforcing unhealthy patterns?
If you So there are five things to look out for. If someone has repeated emotional experiences of negative experiences like fear,
Yeah.
confusion, walking on
Mm.
eggshells.
Yeah.
If you are, when you are around your family or in your community and you have repeated these emotions, you are always afraid. You're always scanning the environment for
Mm.
if everyone is happy with me. You are walking on eggshells. What you are doing, how you're what you're wearing, what you're eating, how you're walking, talking, what you're
Mm.
doing, you're always afraid. If what if someone is watching me, what if it will bring a bad name to me, they will be upset at me. And also, most important, if you have confusion, if you have cognitive dissonance, which means having two opposite ideas about the same thing, like about a leader, if he's actually that pure, moral, and good, righteous or not. If you have two existing thoughts, one is yours and one has been cultivated by the community, it's called as cognitive dissonance. It's the biggest red flag. Having a confusion about a concept, a person, a thing that you are clearly gut feeling says that it's wrong. But then also community reinforces that no, it's right and it's important. So confusion. Then the second one is feeling small. Spirituality is supposed to help you expand, become more aware, become happier, become more fulfilled in life. But if you feel that you feel that I am always wrong and I'm always apologizing for something, then there is something wrong. If there is loss of autonomy, any relationship that does not allows you to be yourself is a toxic. It could be either it's family or your spiritual community. If you can't make any decision without taking someone's permission, that
Mm.
relationship is unhealthy. Then the fourth one is if there is constant guilt. If you're constantly feeling guilty, of course, we all feel guilty sometimes because we all make mistakes. But if there is a particular relationship or a particular environment in which you are the always one who is wrong for, and especially for the things that are very normal needs, like for taking rest, for wanting to
Mm.
sleep, for setting boundaries, for having other social connections, for wanting to parent your children the way you want to, for having feelings. If you're constantly feeling guilty for existing, for being yourself, something is wrong. Then the biggest red flags would be leaders acting like parents, or rather I would say acting like toxic parents, controlling, trying to control everything about you, and communities acting like your spiritual gatekeeper, that this is the only way to God, and if you obey me and you keep me happy, then only your spiritual life would be safe. If you do anything different from that, if you think, if you use your brain, even if you do something that's written in scriptures without my permission, you will not get God's love, you will not get salvation. So I am the gatekeeper and I am the one who will decide how your spiritual life goes, then something is wrong. Nobody has got the copyright over God. We all are allowed to have personal relationship with God, and no community or no particular leader decides how we achieve that. I mean, they are there to guide. Communities and leaders are there to guide, but if someone acts like a gatekeeper, that if you keep me happy all the time, then only you will get salvation, there is something wrong. So these are the five things: repeated emotional, negative emotional
Mm.
experiences, feeling small, loss of autonomy, constant guilt, and red flags.
All right, there's another comment here. This is from the Dawn Halo. I can say through imperfections you find perfection, but it's not easy. But it's not an easy road. In my rare case, I've only grown to do better than which has been done. All families are dysfunctional, though.
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, we all families dysfunctionality is non-binary. All families are dysfunctional to some extent. We all are. Nobody is perfect because we all
Mm.
have limited and imperfect senses, limited and imperfect knowledge, limited and imperfect intelligence, and we use that. And all parents have some level of trauma. Trauma is what you experience, not what happened to you. And the moment someone gets conceived in their mother's womb from the day one, they could get trauma from the environment that their mother is in, the way, the what mother thinks, what she feels, how she lives her life, what she's eating, the health problem the mother has. From the day one of conception, we are exposed to this environment where anything could be traumatic to anyone. So all parents have some level of trauma, and when somebody has some level of trauma, they definitely have some level of behavioral issues, mental health issues. So no parent is perfect, no family is completely perfect. But when we use these terms, we are talking about the families. When we say functional families, we are talking about the families that lie on the this end of functional end of the continuum. And when we talk about the dysfunctional families, we are talking about the other end of the continuum. The families who completely ruin their children. When the children these come out of these families, they have a lot of problems. They have depression, anxiety, they are suicidal, they lack social self-worth, they don't have a good social life, they don't have a very good career, not sure of themselves, and easily vulnerable. However, people who come from families on this end, they too have a little bit of dysfunctionality. They were also scolded occasionally, occasionally beaten, or had problems in their families, but they are fine, they are doing fine. And since nobody is perfect in this world, but we when we compare, we can see that some people lie on the higher side, some lie on the lower side. That's what I meant when I said dysfunctional and functional.
Lastly, what steps can an individuals take to break free from cycles of dysfunction and build healthier relationships with both families and faith? Sorry, I think my PC went a bit.
It's okay.
Oh, sorry about.
So there are six things that we can do, and I have went into huge details about these six things and even more in my book, and that's what this book is about: keeping faith alive. This book
Okay.
is written for someone who has been through cycle of dysfunctions in family, and especially in environment, in relationship with God, in relationship with toxic cultic environment, toxic leaders, someone who has been through dysfunctional family environment, and then especially through a toxic cultic environment for very long, they lose a lot of things. They lose their self-worth, they lose their autonomy, they lose their critical thinking, they lose their relationship with themselves, their social life. They don't have any healthy social life outside of the cult, because cult always tells you to cut yourself off from the outsiders, and when things don't go well in the cult itself, then you have no social life at all. You cannot associate with people inside the cult, and you do not have any social life outside the cult. So your relationship with outsiders, society, and most importantly, your relationship with God, it also distorts your image of God. If a narcissistic person treats you, manipulates you spiritually, religiously, it also distorts your image of God. You gradually start to think, what if God is a narcissist too? What if God is toxic too, because he allowed this to happen to me,
Mm,
while my only crime was that I was trying to find him, I was trying to establish my relationship with him. So spiritual abuse can cause damage in every area of your life. And in order to heal from that, there are a lot of steps that you need to go through, and these steps I have discussed in detail in my book, but I will give you a brief overview. First of all, you need to be aware.
yeah.
Identify the repeated patterns and reflect on how family conditioning shaped your beliefs. So, first, become aware of what happened to you. You might even write it down. I have given a lot of exercises in my book that will help you become aware of what happened wrong with you, what was actually toxic, what was beneficial, what you need to heal from. And you also reflect how I have repeated the patterns that I learned from my own dysfunctional family. Then the second one is working on your boundaries. Limit access to toxic people. If I have a wound in my hand, the first thing that I would do is to wipe it off with the disinfectants. Don't want to be in touch with anything that will cause any further harm. So first I wipe it off, then I put the ointment and the bandage. So if you are trying to heal from toxic environment, first of all, you have to distance yourself. Try to cut them off completely if it's possible, and if it's not possible, then at least distance yourself from people who have harmed you, because they are going to trigger you over and over and over. If somebody keeps scratching your wound, it will never heal. So
Mm,
distance yourself immediately. from the people who have harmed you, who don't believe you in your story, who gaslight you into thinking that you are too sensitive or you are the problem. Anyone who has harmed you or is harming you or is your invalidating your pain. Do not share your stories of abuse or whatever you went through with people who minimize it or deny it or tell you that you are the problem or you're thinking too much, being too sensitive. And then learn to say no without guilt. It's very difficult if you were also been through a dysfunctional family, not just a community. Saying no is very difficult for people like that.
Mm.
I've included a lot of exercises that will help you gradually learn to say no when the yes is not safe for you. And separate faith from spiritual authority figure. In cultic environment, you are repeatedly told that questioning leaders is equal to questioning God. Disobeying leaders is disobeying God. Having any question or doubt about your path that you're walking on in this community, it means that you're not serious enough, you're not pure enough. So separate God from community. No community has got the copyright over God. You can have your own personal faith. So separate faith from spiritual authority figures. And a third one, which is most important, is heal your inner child. Healing your inner child is very important. Adults who usually get into abusive environments, relationships, communities, it's because they were abused as children. When someone is abused as children, they become vulnerable to further abuse in adulthood. So healing the inner child would includes rebuilding your self-worth, validating your own emotion, and replacing shame with compassion. I have included a lot of exercises on inner child healing. If someone is not buying the book, they can seek a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, a counseling psychologist, and they will help you step by step do all these things that I said: the awareness, the boundary, building boundaries and staying with them, and healing the inner child, which is more important. There are some specialists who basically work with inner child healing. You can consult someone who specializes in inner child healing. When you heal the inner child, everything becomes so clear. Okay, so this is why I enabled that behavior, that's why I tolerated that, that's why it happened with me. The guilt that is there inside you for enabling or for allowing that to happen you, it will also go away, because healing the inner child will allow you to develop compassion for yourself, to understand your pattern, why all your life you had been acting in a certain way. And then having a support system is also very important. uh, when you heal the inner child, after that, spiritual reclamation, you some people become aversive to even God after going through abuse in the name of God. So spiritual reclamation is also important. You are allowed to have a personal relationship with God. In cultic environments, you are told that no, you cannot have any personal relationship with God. It happens through us only. We are the only way. But you are allowed to do so, and you can practice only those rituals that don't trigger your memories of harm, of hurt, of manipulation, and those memories that make you feel more connected to God, more safer in your practice. And try to find a community that does not controls you. And I would suggest you to do this after you get a little bit healed, so that you are able to differentiate a healthy community from an unhealthy one. I have given some exercises that survivors can use to find out what a healthy community is and what an unhealthy community is, so that you can make a right choice. And then spiritually, understanding that spirituality is rooted in freedom. Spirituality is not rooted into shrinking yourself. Spirituality is meant to not shrink you, destroy you. It's meant to expand you, enjoy the life, and become closer to God, feel more safer than before. So and if you are trying to find a community, I would again emphasize in this point, if you are trying to stay in your community, you might want to figure out if it's safer to stay or to leave. That for that also I have included an exercise in my book. And if you are like a leader or a preacher, I have suggested some ways that you can use to heal your community, so that it becomes safe place for the people who are already existing, instead of leaving it. They won't need to leave it, you won't need to leave it, and you can, while staying in the community, you can make it safer. Then support system is also very important. As I said, previously, just like any other biological need, we have a need of for human connection. But if you've been in unhealthy environments for too long, so the purpose that the connection, human connection, is supposed to serve, it was not serving. In fact, it was doing the opposite, it was doing the damage. So now if you're trying to heal from the spiritual abuse, you need to find some safe people. And you can start with joining the support groups that are there on Facebook and other social media, where like-minded people are there who have been through what you've been through, and these places are very highly regulated by the admins and co-admins. You can safely share your experiences. I would suggest you to talk anonymously for a few days, because some groups are private, some are public, you don't know, someone might be watching. So post anonymously and get support, and you support them also. And if possible, get into counseling or therapy with someone that you trust. You can find someone near you who can help you guide into the healing process step by step. And also, when you heal to some level, then try to make new friends and try to find new people who are into spirituality. For this, I have included an exercise how to step by step make friends in a way that is safe, so that you do not again fall in the negative, harmful patterns like before. And then the last step would be rebuilding your identity. Earlier, you had no identity. Group identity was your identity. You belonged to a group and you saw yourself only as a part of it. But when you learn, when you start to heal, you can develop your identity once again. You learn what you believe in, what you actually believe in, not what was imposed on you. Because when you are in a cultic environment, you don't know what you actually believe. You start to believe what you are told to repeatedly believe in, and now you don't know which of this thought is mine and which was imposed about me. But when you start to heal, when you start to rebuild your identity, you learn what is actually you believe in, what is actually your value, and what you want your life and faith to look like. So with that understanding, when you approach God, when you approach society, when you approach yourself, you create healthy relationships with yourself, with society, and with God, and with your faith system.
Thanks so much for your insights, Anu, and I'll catch you on Tuesday this time.
Yeah. See you on Tuesday. Thank you so much.
God bless.